All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in again for another segment of our show together of Mamas Making Millions. And with me today is a very special guest. I actually have the honor of knowing her personally, and I can't just not have her on this show because of the mission and vision behind helping women in business and especially moms in business. She and I are both moms, so we have a sweet spot for all of you who are listening, who are moms, who are looking to take that next step in your even life or business and really wanting to take that to the next level. So I want to take the honors of really introducing this amazing woman to you. She is the founder of Personal Brandography. She helps female online entrepreneurs, coaches, especially consultants, strategically clarify and showcase their personal brands, making their marketing way more effective so they can have a bigger impact and grow their business to multiple six figures and who are really on their way to seven figures. She has over 12 years in photography in photography industries and 4 years studying brand strategy while building her own brand, her own business. She's very unique, or she has a very unique way of combining personal brand strategy with photography to create images that really capture your personal and powerful way to connect you to your ideal audience. And I can attest to all of this, all of the above, because I have been, or actually was, one of Melissa's clients. And I can truly tell you that's also one of the other reasons why I want her on here to really speak to you about what is even brand photography? Like, is it just getting a headshot? Like, I mean, and I can tell you without really spilling all the beans, that is beyond that. So please help me welcome my amazing friend, my amazing photographer, Melissa Dimple. Please welcome.
Hi. Yes. And I typically go by Melissa Henry, even though my brand has been built in my photography side as Melissa Demple. So you can use both names, that's fine. But as we switch over to personal brandography, you'll see me more as Melissa Henry.
Great to know. Thank you so much for that note. I really appreciate it. So really, let's dive in, right? Like, let's dive in. I always love to get to know everyone, especially the audience would like that, the same, is that what is Melissa Henry's story? What inspired you to do what you do today?
Hmm. So let's see how Reader's Digest I can get this. But I started off, I loved photography ever since I was a little girl. In fact, my father was into photography as well. And I used to kind of follow him around, and he had all this like really interesting, weird equipment, and I would just play with it. And, those old flash cubes that you'd have to, like, you'd get them, put them on the camera, and you'd use them once, and I would, use those up, and he'd be like, okay, get out of my stuff, that kind of thing. But I didn't go that route directly. I didn't, come into photography directly from there. I went by way of becoming a CPA, which is really not a direct path. But when I was in college, I felt like I needed to, have a major that was like guaranteed for, to earn money. So there's money story behind all of that. And yeah, I mean, I spent years really going from job to job thinking that, well, maybe it's just the type of accounting I don't like, when really, ultimately, it was accounting I don't like. And it wasn't until about 5 years ago, it's coming up on exactly 5 years ago, when I was put on a job. I was a project manager. On this particular job, I was a project manager, the manager, and the doer, all over the place, because we didn't have enough people. It was a toxic work environment from this perspective of the client side. So I actually had times where I was there until 3 a.m, or I had the client come up to us and be yelling at my staff or yelling at me, saying things like, don't you guys know what you're doing? Things like that. So I like to say that the universe sort of pushed me into this
Mm.
by putting me on that job, by
Wow.
saying, just how bad could it possibly get, right? And then at that point, I was like, all right, well, it's quit or I don't know, be in the hospital or worse, really. And I think I did get the push, I guess, by a friend of mine who had said, hey, you have a studio, you have a client base, you've done this work, like you've done photography for years, like you can do this. And so I thought, all right, well, with that positivity on that side, my husband supporting me, which was amazing, not just from the fact that he had a full-time job, but also just his like, his support of me and what I was doing. I decided to quit. And that was 5 years ago, and I have not gone back. So I feel pretty good about that. And interestingly enough, at the same time when I quit, I changed my niche. So I went from, photographing moms and newborns because I was so interested in that when I was having my own baby, right? I went from that to deciding, oh my gosh, personal brand, this is made for me. I get it. This is so what I want to do. It's so creative, like so many different kinds of people I could work with and that kind of thing. And so that's kind of where I got the start. And I said, this is for me. And I just committed to it. So
Yeah, that's so amazing. So, can you please take the moment to, I know before I even started my business and really understand what it really means to build a personal brand, can you educate us on what is that? Because I mean, when I hear photography, like you said, it's event photography or newborns photography, etc. So, what is personal branding or what is brand photography?
yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. So when we're talking about personal brand, what that really means is you and your reputation. So ultimately, that's the heart of it. So you get to, as a business owner, you get to actually shape that reputation, like what you want people to know about you, what you want to be known for. And so being really intentional about that and actually putting yourself out there as the face of your business, which it's so interesting to me because I feel like I get the gamut of people coming to me. Some are like, I'm all in, like, yep, I want to be an authority in this. I want to be known for this. I have this like driving passion to like get out there and make this huge impact. And I know I got to be the face to do that. On the other end of that spectrum are people that are like, oh, if I get out there and do that, I'm bragging, or, I'm like, sort of, I want to be in the background and things like that. And really, it really does depend. But in this day and age, people want to see a human behind a business. And that's why you're seeing like this is kind of like never before have we seen this in past history in business. Because in business in the past, it was all about big brands and big companies. And nowadays, it is more about small business. It's more about the person and the human side. And you'll even see big businesses mimicking that because you have people like, Bill Gates stood out in front of his company, Steve Jobs, oh my gosh, what's the guy's, I'm blanking on his name, but Amazon, you
Jeff
know,
Bezos.
right, Jeff Bezos and all these people. And these are like, they're leaders of the company, but they put their faces out there because they understood that people resonate with that, resonate with humans, not with the big company. Like there's an amorphous thing. And so as a business owner, it's really so much more powerful if you do stand out as the face of your business. But know that it's not bragging. It literally is a way of connection to another human. And I think really too, when you really think about it, it's actually like, I don't know, it's like loving your audience, like loving that person that wants to come to you and buy from you. And then when you do that, like that puts trust in their hearts for you. They're not, oh my gosh, I go to this website and literally there's nothing, like nothing on there about that person. And maybe there's an about page, but like if they don't show up anywhere, I go, well, what are you hiding? You know? And so it's just that's really to me the biggest reason for it. And I'm hoping that I'm explaining that well, but it's all about you, what you stand for, like your values, what like the emotions that you bring to your clients, like you want to capture all of that. You don't just want to have this headshot, which all it does is really maybe say that, oh, you have a nice smile and you look like this, like you look like yourself. That's it. But if you have images that show all of this like powerful emotions behind it, and that connection point that you have with your audience, it's way more powerful, and it's way faster for people to get trust in you.
Yeah, no, I think you're really explaining it in a way that is going to be relevant for most of us, and we definitely should consider it. And that's one of the reasons why I consider it, it's a biggest project, in our business, because there is so much information out there, and we not only have to evolve fast, but we have to get known quicker than ever before. And the only I guess way to do that is to differentiate ourselves. And, of course, there are so many photographers, there are so many business strategists, there are so many, but people resonate. The biggest thing you said is connection. People resonate and connect with you on an individual basis, and definitely who you are as a person. I have never bought anything just because I needed that product. Not so much, not so badly that I would care about buying it for anyone. No, I pick and choose, especially when it comes to a service, who I really know, who I really trust, and who is really reputable, like you said, in the
Mhm.
industry, in my local area, wherever it may be. And let's just even not say it from that connection or standpoint. It's also important that that's from a marketing, even business strategic standpoint, right?
For
Like,
sure.
what is your value proposition? And are you really displaying that visually to your
Yes.
audience? Because again, like you're just like any agent, you're just like any photographer, you're just like anyone else out there, and there's no point of connection. And
No.
and usually that's what is really helping you build the authority in your marketplace. Interesting you said that, because one of my mentors, billionaire, multiple billionaire, and he didn't build his company to be whatever technology and training services. He built it behind his name. Like, I mean, people knew him before, and they even know that he has now 35 different training and sales related companies. They just know
Hmm.
him by his name, Grant Cardone and or Bill Gates or things
Yes.
like that. And that's ultimately the era that we are in, believe it or not. When it
Exactly.
comes to
Yeah.
business. And I know I understand it, and I value that so much, and that's why I think why you and I have connected. But I think a lot of people, especially if they're just starting out or if they've been in a business for a couple of years and it's not really going the way that they really want to, it's really coming back down to how are you expressing your brand, through everything. And I want also to add to what you're saying, because of course I have experienced your work. It's beyond the photography, it's beyond the photos. Because when I worked with Melissa, she asked me questions like, what are your clients saying about you? And I was like, what does that really have to do with you showing up and taking a photo, for me? But actually, it really matters, because what my clients are saying about our work together gives her the insight on what kind of strategy when it comes to creating that image that's going to show this is the experience that the client's actually going to get. So for example, my clients come to me with their hair pulled out, right? Like, I don't know what to do. I have 20 strategies and none of them are working, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can imagine a person pulling their hair out, right? And then and the side effect, or I want to say the impact or the transformation or the breakthrough is, they're at ease and they're well put together, and they can actually have a real conversation and connect with their loved ones and things like that. Well,
Mhm.
if she didn't ask me that question, we wouldn't be able to create those photos that in relation to those type of emotions to really portray to my potential clients, people that don't even know about me yet, to connect to. So that is another thing I want to really add to, is that is why it's so incredible. So let's switch gears a little bit. I find it really interesting. And I don't find entrepreneurship an accident for anyone, right? Because it's so interesting how you were in a position where it seems like you were doing what you were supposed to do, and you're supposed to know what you're supposed to do. And it sounds like you were almost stuck or stifled in a sense. And then here you are stepping out and into something that's completely different, where you get to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So it's like, wait, is that like brand photography in a sense where you can truly express who you are through your business? Can you
Hmm.
say something like, can you make that connection for us? I
Oh
find it
yeah.
really
Oh,
cool.
100%. Yeah, yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Because I didn't lean into who I was when I was younger, and for so many reasons. And I think so many of us do that,
Mhm.
where we're like doing the expected thing versus the thing that really draws us. And I think, even, and it's funny because my father said this to me like early on, and he was an entrepreneur. And he said to me when I would come home and I would complain about whatever job I was in at that time, whatever, company I worked for, complain about my boss, complain about the company, whatever. And he'd say, he'd listen, and then he'd go, well, don't you know that you're going to be so much happier when you work for yourself? And I was like, you're just crazy. Like, there's no way, and all this stuff. But he was totally right. So he saw something there too. I think there is, I don't think entrepreneurship is for everyone. I really don't. I think it's something that's just inside of you that um, you have a big vision. And that's why I love working with people who have that big vision, because coming into this was like when I first came out of the corporate world, I was like, wow, I can totally see so many things that I would love to do. You know, results that I'd love to make happen, impacts that I want to make happen, things like that. And it was like coming into myself. It was like, wow, I've been repressing this for so long, or saying that it would be someday. Like someday I can see myself doing that, right? But it was just, yeah, it was weird how almost ironic that I was so called to the branding side of things, given that I was in of myself trying to come into my
Mhm.
authenticity, right? So it's really interesting. So I'm glad that you made that parallel. I do think too that people, and I kind of want to just touch on this a little because I want to make it really clear to people that when you can have a company, absolutely, but becoming the face of whatever you're doing allows you so much more potential to realize all of that vision that you have. Because once you have an audience behind you, like once you've built people who recognize you as the authority in X, whatever that is for you, then you can go do whatever you want because they'll come with you. Like they recognize you, they know they're legit, they trust you. And so if you say, hey, I'm now doing this new thing because it's part of your vision, you see it, I want to go attack that now. You can say to them, hey, I'm doing this new project. What do you think? And you can start asking them. They're like, oh yeah, I love it. And then they're behind you. And wow, imagine if you could build, if that's in your vision, imagine you can build like several different businesses just because of who you are and your authentic self, right? That, oh my God, you can realize so much bigger impact in the world. And don't all us, I mean, all of us entrepreneurs, we want that. That's why
Right.
we do this. We don't just do this just to make money. We do it because we see this massive like thing that we can create and how exciting that is, right?
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know. Does that
definitely.
answer your question? I feel like
Yeah,
it's
no, no, no. I think it's amazing. It's definitely what you're saying is that, if you're connected to your vision, and if you feel like there is a calling or some type of a nudge that you have to do your business, that means you have to put yourself out there. It's
yeah.
like that. And so let's switch gears a little bit, because I know the intention of this show is definitely to show everyone that's truly possible, no matter what it is that they want to do. However, like you said, I agree 100% that entrepreneurship is not for everyone. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there are going to be challenges. And so I ask every single speaker who have been on with us, what is the biggest challenge, personal or professional, that you have to overcome to run a successful business?
Yeah. Um, There's a lot. There's so much. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
what do I pick? I'll say just generically first, and then maybe give an example. So generically, I think no, nobody ever told me when I quit that this was going to be the biggest self-development phase of my life.
Yes.
Nobody said that. They're all like, oh, starting a business, and they give you all this tactical stuff. But
Mhm.
and that's great. Like you need to set up some of those like legal things, like your organization, all the stuff. Sure. But that stuff is like not, it's like so minor compared to all the work that you do internally, like in your mind, the mindset, meditation. I didn't meditate before. I sure as heck do now. Like I have to, right? So it's all of that. Like I never did this kind of work up until now, not to this level, not to this degree. So, and that may sound scary for people, but I actually think it's cool because it's like, why wouldn't I want to like develop? I wasn't developing before. I was doing somebody else's work and
Mhm.
like just staying like status quo and just like not experiencing life. Well, yes, that's what it takes, right? So I think that's one. And then I'm trying to think about, I had written down, looking at my notes because I wrote down a couple of ideas. Um, but I think some of the major things that I went through as part of that self-development was this idea of, there's two things probably. One is understanding that you are the face of your business. That's true. And your business comes from within you. And that as solopreneurs, that's what happens. But there's a like separating in your mind your business from you was huge. Because as a photographer, specifically for us, creatives in general, it all comes from within us anyway. We get our feelings hurt when something like when somebody doesn't like what we do. It's like, oh my god, that's like a reflection on me. Whereas when I became a business owner, and I'm not just a photographer, I'm not um just like I'm trying to think of the word, but like freelancer. Like it's not like that. It's like, no, I own a business. I
Mhm.
have people who work for me. Like I've got to run a business, and yes, I'm also the service provider. So wearing both of those hats, that was huge. Like really, when I got it straight in my mind, I was like, wow, this totally makes sense. And it also got my butt in gear when I was like, oh my God, I've got to actually have revenue. If I have a business, I got revenue.
Right.
Right. So then it was like, okay, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for the business. So the business survives. So that was like one. And I think the second one, which was fairly quick, is just sort of falling in love with the idea again, falling in love again with what I can do for people. Because I think when you get all down in the weeds of running the business and like, getting lead generation, et cetera, all the things, sometimes you forget what why you did this in the first place. And so getting reacquainted with that and like putting that top of mind, because that's really what's going to drive everything else for you. It's what's going to give you the motivation.
Yeah, no, I love it. I so love it. I think what you said really hit a chord for me when you said, can you fall in love with your business all over again? Is that what you said?
Fall in love with your business all over again. Well, I always say with your brand, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, your brand, your business. Yeah, 100%. Because all, entrepreneurs, I believe, are visionaries. Like all of us are visionaries. Like we're hooked on to this one vision of, what it is that we want to create so badly that we're willing to do whatever, whatever it takes.
So crazy.
Yeah. And so, yeah, no, I love that. Falling in love with your business or your brand all over again, like that. That is ultimately the key. So, can you actually share with us I mean, it seems self-explanatory, right? Like with our conversation so far, why brand photography is important. But can you give us I guess, your definition and or your explanation of why is brand photography so important? I mean, can a business survive without it?
Hmm. You know, that's a really good question, actually. Can your business survive without it? Yes. Yes. And that's probably not the answer you thought I'd say, but it is. Here's why. Um, it depends on where you're going. So I have people, I've talk to people who have businesses where they don't want to grow a business, like a big business. They kind of want to be just like have some clients, like, have some referral clients, like just kind of keep a steady stream going. They're not really interested in building something bigger than themselves necessarily. So they're really kind of comfortable. And a lot of times that could be people who are kind of at the end of their career business wise, and they haven't built something that can be sold or any of that. So they're really kind of content there. Well, in that scenario, really all you need to be doing is business development work. So you're networking and going back to your clients and getting referrals and things like that. And you're really not, that's fine. You don't need photos for that. No. But if what you want to do is build something like big, like
Mhm.
beyond you, you're impacting more people, like not even just at clients, you're actually helping people get jobs because you're employing people and things like that, then yeah, the photos are a part of that. Because again, you can't possibly meet every single person on your email list, right? You can't possibly meet everyone in your social media face to face. So how else are you going to get your true personality, what it truly feels like to work with you, if you don't show up that way in your photos and in your videos and all of that?
Yeah.
So I guess that's my long answer to a short question.
Yeah, no, I love it. So yes, your business can survive to an extent. Now, however, like you said, most of your clients are multiple six-figure business owners and or on their way to seven figures, then they really have to look at their business holistically, and that has to be through brand photography. It sounds like.
Yes, brand photography. And I think before that, the strategy work as well. So understanding, like, it's kind of like, I thought of this analogy recently, like you can like tell me, like, where's the next place you want to go, like in the world?
Mhm.
Where is that for you?
Oh my goodness. It's gonna be Asia, I feel like.
Okay. All right.
Mm.
So Asia is your vision, right? But what if I asked you, like, where are you headed? Like you'd be like, if I said to you, let's get on a plane and go somewhere, if you didn't have Asia as that vision, you'd be at the airport going, I have no idea where I want to go, right? So the brand strategy piece of it is first understanding where you're headed,
Yeah,
like
so
getting
finding,
that
like
so clear.
declaring your basically like figuring out the location so you can set the GPS, right? Like if you
Yes,
don't know where you're going, what are you doing between here and there to get there? You would never get there because you
exactly.
don't even know where you want to go.
No, you wouldn't know what plane to get on. You wouldn't know, like, what the like what hotels to stay. You wouldn't know anything. And so the brand strategy piece of that is getting all those foundational elements in place first before you start the marketing piece,
Yep.
which is the, okay, now I'm going to like find out my airline and I'm going to, make the plan and I'm going to execute it and all that stuff. So I think, yes, the photos, but you understanding all of those elemental things first is how you're going to get the most powerful images out of your shoot.
Yeah, no, I love that. Amazing. And thank you so much for everything. And I'm really excited. You also have a gift for
I
our
do.
audience as well. Can you please share more about that? I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
so I created this is a master class and it is on visibility. And so what I'm doing in this class is actually talking to you about what you need to be doing in social media, in any way to become more visible. But I'm doing this from the perspective of where are you in your brand journey and where are you in your business journey. And so it's a class, it's a video, plus it's a workbook, and it's a quiz in there too, so you can kind of figure out where, like, what's your next steps to get more visible. So we're going to tie all of that together so that you really are very clear and you don't go back to your inbox and see 15 different things from 15 different people saying this is the way you should go. You now know, nope, I'm not going to start a podcast yet. No, I'm not going to write a book yet. I'm going to be doing these things first. So
Mm,
I think it really kind of clarifies all of that for people.
yeah, no, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And yes, we will definitely be sharing the URL, the link, so what people can get their hands on to enrolling in that masterclass. Thank you so much for your time. It's been really fun. Like I love everything branding. I love, looking and appreciating not just the logo, but like the lifestyle experience, the feel, what just looking at that logo, because how it was designed, the colors, all of the things, the psychology behind it. So this
Mhm.
is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, being with us, and truly, really contributing to our, collective effort of making a difference in the world. We so
Yeah, thank
appreciate you
you.
being
It
here.
was awesome being here. Thank you so much.